The studio lights of The View glowed brighter than usual that morning, washing the familiar set in a polished, almost cinematic sheen as cameras glided smoothly across the table. The audience buzzed with anticipation, a low hum of whispers, shuffling feet, and the soft rustle of cue cards being adjusted backstage. It was one of those episodes teased all week: special guest, special energy, and a promise of a conversation that might drift somewhere unexpected. Joy Behar sat comfortably in her chair, glasses perched just right, fingers loosely wrapped around her mug. Across from her, Jelly Roll adjusted his jacket, offering an easy smile to the crowd, his presence warm, grounded, and unmistakably human. The opening minutes flowed smoothly. Laughter came easily, the hosts exchanged light banter, and Jelly Roll spoke candidly about music, storytelling, and the way songs could connect strangers who had never met. Joy nodded along, occasionally interjecting with a witty remark that drew laughter from the audience. The cameras cut between close-ups, Joy's expressive eyebrows lifting, Jelly Roll's thoughtful pauses before answering, the co-hosts leaning in with interest. Everything felt relaxed, almost intimate, like a conversation meant to stay gentle. Yet beneath that ease, a subtle shift began to form. It wasn't anything dramatic at first, just timing, tone, a small overlap in conversation where two voices met at once. Jelly Roll finished a sentence just as Joy leaned forward to add her thought, both stopping, both smiling politely, both insisting the other continue. The audience chuckled, but the production team exchanged quick glances, marking the moment. These were the tiny sparks live television thrived on, the kind that could fade instantly or grow into something larger. As the discussion turned toward creative pressure and public expectations, their perspectives began to contrast. Jelly Roll spoke slowly, choosing his words carefully, emphasizing patience and personal growth. Joy responded with her trademark sharp clarity, framing ideas quickly, moving the conversation forward at a brisk pace. Neither was wrong, neither confrontational, but the rhythm between them felt mismatched, like two melodies briefly out of sync. The cameras lingered a second longer on their faces, capturing micro-expressions. Joy's thoughtful pause, Jelly Roll's slight nod that came just a beat late. The audience sensed it too. Applause softened, replaced by attentive silence. Somewhere behind the cameras, a producer raised a hand subtly, signaling timing cues. The conversation continued, still respectful, still calm, but the air felt heavier now, charged with anticipation. Joy leaned back, listening, while Jelly Roll spoke about vulnerability, his voice steady yet emotional. When Joy responded, her words came faster, sharper in contrast, not aggressive, just different. A misunderstanding slipped in quietly, almost invisibly. Jelly Roll referenced a general idea about public discourse, something broad and abstract. Joy interpreted it through the lens of media responsibility, replying with a perspective that shifted the focus. For a split second, Jelly Roll hesitated, then clarified, but the moment had already stretched. The audience murmured softly, sensing the disconnect. The camera cut to a co-host, eyes flicking between the two guests, then back again. Joy adjusted her glasses, offering a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I hear what you're saying," she said, measured, thoughtful. "But..." The pause before her next words felt longer than usual. Jelly Roll nodded, but his posture stiffened slightly, hands clasping together. The lights seemed hotter now, the studio quieter, every breath amplified. Behind the scenes, a stage manager leaned toward a headset, whispering calmly. The tension wasn't loud. It was cinematic, built from restraint. Joy spoke again, her tone still controlled, but the pace unmistakably firm. "Jelly." Roll responded gently, clarifying once more, emphasizing respect and intention. Neither voice rose, no sharp words were exchanged. And yet, the moment swelled, stretched thin like a held note in music. The audience gasped, not loudly, but collectively, when Joy paused mid-sentence, inhaled, and leaned back from the table. She looked down for a brief moment, then up toward the cameras, then toward Jelly Roll. The silence was heavy, meaningful. The peak had arrived, not as an explosion, but as a stillness so complete it commanded attention. Joy slowly removed her microphone pack, placing it carefully on the table. "I think this is a good moment for me to step away," she said calmly, her voice steady, composed. There was no anger, no accusation, just resolve. Jelly Roll's eyes widened slightly, concern flashing across his face. The audience reacted in waves: surprise, confusion, respectful applause. The cameras captured everything, every second unfolding in real time. As Joy stood, the co-hosts instinctively reached out, hands hovering, unsure whether to stop her or simply acknowledge the moment. Jelly Roll rose as well, nodding respectfully. "No hard feelings," he said softly, sincerity clear in his tone. Joy paused, met his gaze, and offered a small, genuine smile. "Of course," she replied. "These conversations matter." The production team moved swiftly but calmly, transitioning cameras, adjusting sound levels. The audience watched in stunned silence as Joy walked off set. Not rushed, not dramatic, but deliberate. Jelly Roll remained standing for a moment, then sat back down, exhaling slowly. The energy shifted again, this time toward reflection. The conversation resumed, guided carefully by the remaining hosts, who framed the moment with grace and context. Jelly Roll spoke thoughtfully about dialogue, misunderstanding, and respect, his words grounded and sincere. The audience listened, applause returning slowly, warmly. What could have fractured instead softened, reshaped into something deeper. By the time the show closed, the tension had transformed into something meaningful. Not a spectacle, not a scandal, but a reminder of live television's fragile honesty, how real emotions, timing, and humanity could intersect unexpectedly. As the credits rolled, the studio lights dimmed slightly, and the audience rose to their feet, applauding not conflict, but authenticity. Offstage, Joy paused, taking a breath, composed and reflective. Jelly Roll, moments later, offered a quiet nod backstage, mutual respect unspoken, but understood. The clash had reached its peak and resolved not through volume, but through choice, leaving behind a moment viewers would remember, not for heat, but for depth, dignity, and the power of walking away when a conversation asks for space. The moment Joy disappeared behind the curtain, the studio seemed to exhale all at once. The applause tapered into a thoughtful quiet, not awkward, but contemplative, as if everyone present understood they had just witnessed something unscripted, yet meaningful. Jelly Roll remained seated, hands resting on the table, his gaze lowered for a brief second before lifting toward the remaining hosts. The camera stayed wide, respectful, allowing the weight of the moment to breathe rather than crowding it with close-ups. One of the co-hosts gently adjusted her notes, then looked toward Jelly Roll with a calm, steady expression. "Live conversations can take unexpected turns," she said softly, framing the moment rather than dissecting it. Jelly Roll nodded, his posture relaxed but attentive. "That's true," he replied. "And sometimes those turns matter more than the plan we came in with." His voice carried no defensiveness, only reflection. The audience responded with light applause, not celebratory, but supportive. A producer's voice murmured through headsets, guiding the pacing, signaling the host to continue. The tension that had once felt sharp now softened into something more rounded, more human. Jelly Roll spoke about how dialogue, especially on a public stage, could reveal differences that weren't meant to divide, but to highlight perspective. His words came slowly, intentionally, each pause signaling care. As he spoke, the cameras captured subtle reactions, the nods from audience members, the co-hosts exchanging brief glances of agreement, the steady calm returning to the set. What could have been framed as a dramatic rupture instead evolved into a shared moment of clarity. Jelly Roll acknowledged that timing, tone, and interpretation all played roles in how conversations unfolded, especially when emotions and experiences differed. Behind the scenes, Joy paused near the monitor, listening quietly as the show continued. Her expression wasn't tense or regretful, just thoughtful. A stage assistant offered her water, which she accepted with a nod. She didn't rush away. Instead, she stood still, absorbing the atmosphere she had momentarily stepped out of, grounded in her choice. Back on set, one of the hosts addressed the audience directly, reminding them that respectful disagreement and space were part of authentic dialogue. The applause that followed was warmer now, fuller. Jelly Roll smiled faintly, gratitude evident. "I appreciate being here," he added, "and I appreciate honesty, even when it's uncomfortable." His words landed gently, carrying sincerity rather than drama. The conversation shifted toward resolution, not by erasing what had happened, but by contextualizing it. The hosts discussed how live television mirrored real life, messy, unscripted, and deeply human. Jelly Roll shared a brief story about learning when to speak and when to listen, emphasizing that both were equally powerful. The audience listened closely, engaged, present.